Okay, so welcome everyone. I am gonna share my screen again now. Go ahead and get started. So thank you so much for joining us for the PWN Care Sister Circle orientation. We are really excited about this new program. This is building off of a program that we started in 2017, which Tiami will be sharing a little bit more about in just a moment. I know some folks on here are already quite familiar with PWN Cares, and other folks this might be brand new. So we're gonna go through everything, and we'll be especially focusing on the plan for this year. So welcome. Quick introduction of us. I am Jenny Smith Camejo. I am the Communications Director for Positive Women's Network USA. Ebony, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Ebony Turk. I am the National Field Organizer for Positive Women's USA.
And I am Tiami Luckett. I am the Communications and Training Assistant for Positive Women's Network USA.
Thank you. And so welcome everyone. Thanks so much for being here. And Ebony, let's talk about PWN.
Yes. So we wanted to give you a little information about PWN's history. In 2008, 28 women living with HIV were very passionate about creating something that was a unified voice to build power amongst women living with HIV across the United States of America. And because of that, they founded PWN, which is better known as they founded Positive Women's Network, which is better known as PWN. Since then, next slide, Jenny. What we do. So we are a network of women living with HIV that are passionate about, you know, what it is that happens to our bodies, to our communities, to our lives. We want to live long, healthy, dignified lives. So we've created a sisterhood, and our sisterhood is a nationwide community of women living with HIV. Our mission is to prepare and involve all women living with HIV in all diversity, including gender identity, sexual expression, and we want to involve all of those women in all levels of policy making. Every day we inspire women, we inform women on how to mobilize and advocate for changes in our lives and uphold our rights. That's how we come together in solidarity. And then, of course, because of those things, because of the sisterhood, because we all have a collective vision, because we all have a collective voice, we are then able to take effective action, whether it's picking up the phone, sending an email, meeting with our legislators, or hitting the streets. There's always a place for you to advocate. We don't only advocate with politicians, we advocate with each other. We advocate for each other. That's what sisters do, right? We bring the information that you need and the tools you need to make a difference. Next slide. So in our sisterhood, of course, what brings us together is what we all have in common, right? We're all women living with HIV. And one thing that I've learned during this journey of being a woman living with HIV is that support is so important in order to, I call it overcoming HIV. In order for me to overcome HIV, I had to link into support systems. It's something that I didn't originally want to do when I was first diagnosed because I didn't want anybody to know what was going on with me. But I understood once I got into a support group that support was essential to overcoming life after diagnosis. This sisterhood has been very supportive and inspiring. It's always great to see women doing things out in the world and not being afraid to be themselves, not being afraid to speak up for themselves. Although people stigmatize us a lot, we're still out there bold and proud and doing what we want to do. And then for those sisters who are not that bold and proud and doing what they want to do, they're still supportive. I know that they're still there. I know that I can still go to them. They know that they can still come to us. So a sisterhood that's supportive, inspiring, and full of information is a great sisterhood to have. And it's a sisterhood that you can find with PWN. And then just a little bit about social connections. Social connections has proven essential to retention and care and improved health outcomes. So when women living with HIV are connected to other women living with HIV and are living, they're being supported and they're being encouraged and inspired, and they have information about what's going on with their lives, it is proven that they're more likely to stay in care. They're more likely to stay connected with the care that they need. They're more likely to stay informed, and it creates better health, emotional and physical health for them. Next slide, Jenny. Thank you. So with that being said, we have connections for women living with HIV in multiple states around the country. We have 6 chapters: New York, Pennsylvania, Colorado, South Carolina, Louisiana, and Texas. And we have 13 state leads: Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Mississippi, Missouri, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Oregon, Tennessee, and Virginia. Any of these places, if you're in any of these places and you want to be connected to a sister just for support, you are welcome to reach out and we can make those connections for you. I want to just reiterate that connections to other women living with HIV is one of the main reasons why we're doing PWN Cares, because we understand that everybody doesn't want to be a national advocate. Everybody doesn't want to be a local advocate, but it is very important for us to be connected to other women living with HIV, to talk about those issues that are going on with us, and to make sure to hear how some people have overcome those issues in their own lives, because those are the types of things that help us get through our own struggles. I know for me, it's it is the thing that carried me through. There's a lot of women in this room right now that has helped me on my journey and continue to help me on my journey, because just because I am who I am, and just because I'm out and I'm public about my status does not mean I don't still go through things, because I do. But seeing other women living with HIV, living their best lives and doing what they do, seeing other women live with HIV struggle, because we all struggle, seeing them struggle and overcome, all of that is inspiring to me. All of that keeps me going. All of that gets me up in the morning. And I am so grateful for the PWN Sisterhood Connection. And I'll give it back to, I think, Tiami or Jenny.
Yeah, Tiami is going to talk about the PWN Care series next. And just a quick note, as I'm looking at it, I'm realizing the map is a little bit outdated. So that's sort of a visual, but what you see here with the states, that is actually more up to date. So just FYI. And this is all available on our website, and we'll be sharing that as well. Tiami, you want to talk about the PWN Care series? Oh, and sure. Sorry, I forgot to touch on this before we started, but the chat box is great for conversation. If you have specific questions that you would like for us to answer for you once we are finished with the presentation part, please put them in the Q&A box. That way they won't get lost in the chat stream. And we will definitely have time for questions and answers at the end. Tiami, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Next slide, Jenny. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you all about PWN Cares, and you've heard this name. Those of you who are members, you've heard this. You've probably been interviewed, but a little bit about its origins, right? It was funded through VIV's Positive Action for Women grant back in 2017 when we premiered our first video. And what it consists of in the project is we compiled 8 interactive video series, video discussions that we called, with accompanying resources, that we called virtual coffee table discussions. And we did them just like we're doing it now, right? having this conversation where we had panelists, and just like you all can do now, what Jenny just said, you can put your questions in the Q&A box and we can answer them, right? But it gave us an opportunity to reach a subset of the population, those women living with HIV who are either newly diagnosed or living in isolation, those who are in rural areas, you know, and for whatever reason, they're just not connected with other women living with HIV. So that's a little bit about why we did this. And if you guys will permit me like a minute or two, I'll tell you like why I had such a personal stake into the whole project, right? A little bit about me. I'm a trans woman living with HIV in Arkansas, right? And at the time of my diagnosis, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I hadn't heard of PWN, so I did a lot of my pre-diagnosis and then going through and getting the test and getting to undetectable by myself, right? And I vowed that I never wanted any other person living with who found out that they were living with HIV to go through what I went through. And so that's a little bit about my personal stake into it, right? I made a decision back in 2012 that I wanted to live. And so that required me to put in a lot of research into getting to this point of being undetectable, right? And even understanding what that means. And so the concept of PWN Cares, like I said in the beginning, we want to reduce the isolation in women living with HIV. I didn't know where to go. That's not just my story, that's the story of a lot of people who are diagnosed with HIV, right? And so this is one way that we were able to bring together community in on what it is that PWN should be doing, right? How can we reach that subset of the population? And so, because first and foremost, before anything, before we're policy, before we're in advocacy, and that's what a lot of people know about PWN. What Ebony said rang true for me. Never gonna forget that first and foremost, I'm a person living with HIV, right? Regardless of my public figure status, regardless of the work that you may see me doing, what rings true and what keeps me going is that I am a woman of trans experience living with HIV. And so we never want our community members to feel as though we think we're up here and they're down here. No, we're all even. That's how we see it. We do the work in your favor. We do the work for you, on behalf of you, with you, right? And so we have real life stories from women living with HIV. I myself was interviewed in a couple of the videos, you know, and we, like I said, we did this as a way to promote sisterhood. I didn't know anything about PWA. I didn't know where to go. I live in Arkansas, and I called to Memphis to ask questions about HIV and did that in the third person because I felt what stigma was about HIV before I even knew what the word was. I didn't want to tell anyone that I had HIV. Disclosure was an issue that is really important to women living with HIV, especially our base, our members. How do we disclose? When is it safe to disclose? Things like that came up in conversation. We listened. We listen to you all. Next slide, Jenny. So a little bit about the process. We applied for this grant. We got the grant. It fell on the communications department. What are we gonna do with this, right? So the communications department, myself and Jenny, took it to our communications actions team. That's one of our work groups. And we wanted to talk with members who had relevant experience about different things that nobody else was talking about as women living with HIV. What is important to you? What do you wish someone had told you when you were first diagnosed? What do you think was lacking? What made that initial diagnosis so hard for you? And how did you get from there to here, right? So that's what we're talking about when we say members with relevant experience. And several things came up. And time was not permitting for us to get everything into it. And so we ran into the communications actions team. And what we decided on together as a team was that we would talk about what healthy relationships look like as women living with HIV. Disclosure, what does that look like in different settings? Undetectable equals untransmittable. How does that impact our love life, our dating life, our intimacy, right? I, as a trans woman, being trans and living with HIV, that's where I got to talk a little bit more about me and my walk, and not just, you know, me and the advocacy, but what I go through as a trans woman living with HIV. Mental health and wellness we can't stress how important that is. We stand on universal health care as a priority bucket at PWN. Dating, some women have chosen not to date at all. I've gone through it myself. Some are trying to figure out how to navigate the dating scene, what's best, what's safe, right? Advocating for yourself. When all else fails, you have to be the first line of defense against anything that's out there. So how do you do that in a way that is healthy for you? And motherhood. We've all heard the rumors, the lies, the things that doctors have said to women living with HIV who are looking to conceive. And we advocate against those doctors who talk in the way that women are not supposed to have babies who are living with HIV, because we know now that that's not the case. HIV is not transmitted to the child from the mother. Anyway, a little bit more about the process. We hired a videographer, as you can see. In the picture, that's Kamaria Laffrey, and we were at HIV is Not a Crime in Indiana. And so we gathered some of the women who agreed to be interviewed, and we recorded these interviews as much as we could and sent them off to an editor who also happens to be our office manager, Anand Kaura. So shout out Anand. Just a jack of all trades. And we released the videos with tie-in days. And what ended up happening was we had a teaser. We had like a 10-minute video that we showed, just like we're doing now, in a virtual coffee table discussion that lasted about 90 minutes with a Q&A and open discussion with time to talk and interact with the stars from the videos. And so next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about what tie-in days are. So we tied the series into like awareness days, and we premiered PWN Cares with living and loving well with HIV. And we did that on, I wanna say it was the day of action, because we talked about healthy relationships and what that looked like, right, as women living with HIV. The U equals U video, I believe it was like with,
World AIDS Day.
World AIDS Day. Yes, thank you. World AIDS Day. We wanted to tie in keeping it real with the Transgender Day of Visibility, as well as motherhood with Mother's Day. And if you look down in the bottom left-hand corner, we talked about Healthy Beyond ARVs. In October, for those who don't know, October is widely celebrated as Mental Health Awareness Month. And so it has a Mental Health Awareness Week and a Mental Health Awareness Day. And so on the day that we premiered that was during the Mental Health Awareness Week. So that's what I mean when I say that we're tying it into awareness days and things that were important to our members as well, because Dating with HIV actually premiered on Valentine's Day, on Valentine's Day. If it's not on that actual day, then we try to get it as close as possible. And I hope I haven't run out of time. And if I have, I'm right on time. Jenny, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Cool, thanks, Tiami. Yeah, and so just to sort of to tie this in, this is also to give you an idea. So if you work for an organization, for example, that does events for, say, like Women and Girls Day, Women and Girls HIV Awareness Day, you might consider, using a video, one of these videos and the discussion guide that goes with it for your event to start a conversation. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to leave the slideshow for just a moment to show you all the series on our website and how you can get there and what you're going to find when you get there. If I can exit, okay, there we go. Sorry about that. You can still see my screen, right? Yes, okay, thank you. Great, so we are on the PWN website here. You can see the URL up here is just pwn-usa.org/PWNcares. From this page, you can get to the entire series and then also information about the Sister Circle, which will get updated regularly. So from this page, we have the whole series. We go from most recent to oldest. So it starts with the 8th video, which was about motherhood. We have teasers. These are just 1 minute little kind of, I like to call them trailers. We have those on this page, but if you click on either one of these buttons, you're going to get to another page, which I'll show you in a second, that has all the resources and the full length video. So this is just sort of at a glance. So we have Motherhood with HIV. We have Be Your Own Best Advocate. This was a really great one, talking about advocating for yourself with medical providers, in particular with service providers. Dating with HIV. This is the one that we're sort of doing mobilization around for February for Valentine's Day, which I'll talk about a little bit in just a moment. The Healthy Beyond ARVs, like Tiami was mentioning, this is about mental health and taking care of one's mental health. Keeping it real, being trans and living with HIV. So some of the stuff that comes up for people of trans experience with an HIV diagnosis, like Tiami said. Disclosure. So this particular episode is really focused on disclosure in non-romantic contexts in particular. So things like with employment, with friends and family, with just other folks, like what does that look like? When should you disclose? When do you have to disclose, or do you have to disclose, etc. You equals you, which is always very important information, and this is one we're going to be focusing on around testing day this year. Because it really should be the very first thing somebody hears when they test positive, quite frankly. And Living and Loving Well with HIV, which, like Tiami mentioned, is about healthy relationships, intimate partner violence, what are red flags, what do you do about them, how do you stay safe and take care of yourself. So also a really important topic, because we know that women living with HIV are subject to intimate partner violence at much higher rates than in the general population. And so it's definitely a really important topic for providers and support groups to touch on and for counselors to talk about. So just to first give you a little look, just a little teaser at, this is the 1 minute trailer from Dating with HIV. So I'm going to show that to you all now. But I don't know if when I shared my screen, I think I didn't check the box to share sound. So I'm going to stop sharing and then start again. Just 1 second. I apologize. There we go. All right. Let's do this again. What? Oh, really? It's not going to let me do it? To share your computer audio, please. Ugh, okay. Well, that's a fail. It's not going to let me do it. It is requiring me to, I think it's going to restart. Can you all still hear me right now? Yes, okay. Tell me, give me a thumbs up if you can hear the sound on this video. Great.
How is it different now than it was before I contracted HIV? Finding out my HIV status really helped hone into those things, what do I want in life and relationships, and it just helped me focus. I've had a lot more positives than negatives.
The only person I have control over is myself, and the only person I can live for is myself.
We physically talked about our boundaries, consent, stuff that we were okay and not okay with. And it really helped me to remind myself that it takes two to tango, right?
So that's just the little teaser for Dating with HIV. I'll show you also the teaser from the first one, because this topic is also kind of relevant around Valentine's Day, and we'll actually be talking about that in our online event on February 14th. So quick look at this one.
Love is an action word. So one of the things, you can tell me you love me, but if you treat me differently, that is not love. there were so many red flags. Red flags I chose to ignore. You know, I didn't overlook them. I just ignored them.
A healthy relationship looks like having my own independence and my own voice.
I met my daughter's father when I was 13 or something, and he was abusive, and I stayed with him for 28. The lying, you know, what are you doing? You know, why are you not working? And why are you angry? Why are you angry at me?
You're not alone. There's support and people just like you, women just like you. I'm one of them. I'm a woman living with HIV. And I'm not just a woman living with HIV. I'm a woman living with HIV.
Again, so that's just the little 1-minute teasers. So what you're gonna find when you click on that button, when you come to this page, so here you have the full video, which they're all somewhere between about 10 and 12 minutes each. So long enough to get into some topics, but also short enough to be able to show them and still have a full discussion afterwards and use it more as the base of a conversation than just, you know, watching a movie and that's it. So from here, you can stream the video here. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but you'll see you can watch it right here without leaving the website. We have a discussion guide, which is meant for, it's ideal for use in groups. I think you could use it in one-on-one settings as well, but they're structured for group activities. So they're ideal for support groups. They could be used in meetings or events that aren't too terribly large, I think. They can be adapted to larger groups. So just a quick run through, the way that they're set up is to have folks sort of sharing in partners, and then you can come back and have a discussion with the full group. So there's a kind of script that the facilitator can use. So you can watch the video, then it sort of goes through part by part and breaks down some of the topics that were discussed, allows the participants to share their own experiences with that, their own, you know, their thoughts, their feelings, their points of view, what they went through. It gives directions for sort of reporting back, comparing folks' experience, you know, the participants' experiences with what they saw in the video, what they heard in the video, which of course are all, you know, real women living with HIV sharing their real experiences. So none of it is dramatized. These are all PWN members who were gracious enough to share their experiences publicly, even some of which were, you know, so kind of traumatic. So, you know, big kudos to our folks who were, you know, so ready to do that, even though it can be really hard sometimes. So, you know, for example, the discussion guide for dating with HIV, how has dating changed since your diagnosis? To disclose or not to disclose, big questions, right? Intimacy and the age of U equals U. What does U equals U mean for intimacy? What, you know, how does intimacy feel after a diagnosis? Loving yourself and being loved. So self-love is a big focus, and that's something that we want to focus on in February as well, because without self-love, there's no other real love, right? And then each discussion guide also has some resources that you can share with women. So some of them are more general, and some of them are sort of specifically about what was in the video. So that's a quick look at the discussion guide. That's just one of them, but there's a discussion guide for each one of the videos. And you can also download the video here. This will take you directly to a place that you can download it. So if you're not 100% sure of the Wi-Fi quality, wherever you're going to be doing this, you can download it to your computer ahead of time and not have to worry about that. So that's just a quick look at the PWN Care series. And I will go back to the slideshow now. Okay, and so that was the series, which Tiami gave you all a look at the genesis of that series, how this all kind of came together, why we did it, who it's meant for. And so the Sister Circle project, this is sort of phase 2 of the PWN Cares project. And so really what this is about getting these resources out to the folks who need them most. So the goal is to reduce isolation. So we're making a really concerted effort to make sure that folks who run support groups, who work directly with women who have been recently diagnosed or who are in rural areas, know about these, know how to use them, that we're here to support them and also to provide real connections with other women living with HIV through the series and through watching it, which I'm going to explain a little bit about how that's going to work. So again, the goal is expanding the reach of the series, working more closely with providers and support group facilitators, offering guidance for using the resources effectively, and offering real life connections for women living and thriving with HIV in their areas. And so the outcomes that we're going for here, in the short term, we're really hoping to break down isolation as much and as quickly as possible and increase social connection, whether that's with people who live, down the street or, people elsewhere in the country, but sometimes even those online connections are really, really valuable, especially if you're in a sort of isolated area without a whole lot of people living with HIV. And in the long term, we're going for increased self-confidence, reduced internalized stigma, because we know this is a huge issue, increased comfort with disclosure and advocating for oneself. And hopefully some of these folks some of the women that you work with will go on to become advocates. And I've watched this. I've been with Positive Women's Network for 4 years now, and I've seen just absolutely amazing transformations. I've seen folks who went from not, being very private about their status and not disclosing at all to speaking in front of a room of 300 people from around the country and going on Facebook Live, talking about being a woman living with HIV and talking to legislators about the needs of people living with HIV. And so it's really amazing. And so I encourage everyone to, wherever your women are at, just know that some of them can and will get there. They just need to be surrounded by the right folks and, have the right examples. And I think PWN does a really fantastic job of helping lift everybody up and providing just amazing examples for people. And so the process of the PWN Care Sister Circle, what this is all about. So folks who participate in this are going to use the videos and the resources in the support groups or meetings or events. For example, if you do awareness day events or testing day events, etc., use these resources in those groups, whether they're in one-on-one or group settings. Collect feedback. We're going to be, I'll be in touch with how we're going to collect feedback. I promise that we're going to make every effort to keep it as short and sweet as possible. We are not trying to give anybody paperwork. We're not trying to take a lot of anybody's time with administrative type stuff, just enough that we can support you better. And also we'll be asking for contact info, which will be kept completely confidential, from any women who are interested in connecting with PWN after participating in a meeting or event that uses the series. And then PWN staff will be connecting those women with other folks in their region, if there are any, and also inviting them to online events or in-person events, as they come up, that are specially tailored to new PWN members, to women who are not already seasoned advocates, but are just sort of interested in getting to know other women living with HIV. And then we will be offering an optional follow-up virtual conversation. So folks who are on here again, especially providers, support group facilitators, folks who work with women living with HIV, will be offering another session like this where we can sort of exchange feedback, how the events went, any lessons learned, anything surprising, anything amazing, tips, etc. So stay tuned for that. We'll also be sharing resources, so not just PWN's resources, but also partner resources. And we definitely encourage folks who are participating in this and whose organizations do have some great resources to share those with. We're going to be kind of building a network, and we're going to encourage you all to share those resources, and then we can help share them as well. And increasing collaboration among providers and support group facilitators nationwide, so a chance to share lessons learned and best practices, and also opportunities for women living with HIV to engage in community building and introductions to advocacy in person and online, with no need or requirement for public disclosure. So just sort of getting the toes wet, introducing what is advocacy, what are the issues that we can advocate for, and definitely not requiring disclosure at any point along that path. And then real quick, time check, okay. So real quick, there are 3 national online events that we're gonna be hosting in 2020. And just to be really clear, these are open to anyone and everyone who wants to participate. If you are using the resources in a group and the timing doesn't work for you, or you want to do something else and you don't want to be part of this online thing, that is 100% cool, not a problem. This is sort of a way for anybody and everybody to engage with us if they want to. It can be live, you can check it out later, so totally optional, but just to give everyone an idea what we're going to be doing at the national level online. So Friday, February 14th at 2 Eastern, we're going to be doing PWN Cares Love After Diagnosis. And I'm going to share in just a second what that's going to look like. Excuse me. On Friday, June 26th, also at 2 p.m., we're going to be doing what U equals U means to me. So this is around testing day. And then on Friday, October 23rd at 2 p.m. Eastern, we will be doing We Deserve Better, which is for PWN's Day of Action to End Violence Against Women Living with HIV, which we've done for, I think this will be the 6th year, I want to say. And so this one is going to be really focused on intimate partner violence, healthy relationships, and what these online events are going to look like. So just starting with the first one that's in February, what we'll do is we will screen the 10-minute video that I just kind of showed you all online. We'll be showing that. So we'll be in Zoom like we are right now. We will have some special guest panelists that could include women who are in the video, but that will also include other women living with HIV, both cis and trans. And also, women representing other organizations, like the Well Project has already agreed to have representatives on there. So we'll be screening the video, and then our guest panelists will be sort of sharing their reactions to it, sharing their own experiences. Who in the video could they relate to? Were their experiences similar? Were they different? Other things that come up for them. And so kind of having a live conversation about these topics with a very dynamic group of cis and trans women living with HIV. And anyone who participates, the women who participate, can share and ask questions anonymously. So just like right now, you can ask questions in the Q&A box. It'll be that sort of setup. So anyone who is in the Zoom meeting will be able to ask questions without having their name shared or publicized. They'll be able to share their own experiences that way as well. And we'll be, just like we're doing right now, we will be live streaming it through PWN's Facebook page. So another way to participate would be to just watch it live from our Facebook feed. And it will be available on our YouTube channel after the fact. And so topics of discussion for the February one will include experiences with dating and relationships after diagnosis, intimacy after diagnosis, sex, disclosure in romantic and intimate contexts, recognizing red flags for intimate partner violence and how to stay safe, and self-love, regardless of relationship status. So I know one thing that Ebony is very concerned about is we want to make sure that this is welcoming for everybody, regardless of whether folks are dating or not, regardless of whether they're ready to be dating. So if they're in a if folks are in a relationship, or if they are single and want to stay that way, or single and don't want to stay that way, no matter what the situation is, everybody is welcome, and there will be topics discussed that are relevant for everyone. And we're really going to emphasize self-love and self-acceptance, because a relationship is not everything. It's not the end all be all. And some relationships are actually worse than no relationships. So we'll be talking about all of that. So it should be a really great conversation. Again, folks are invited to attend. You're invited to incorporate that into a meeting or event, but also don't feel obligated to do that. It's just one option of many.
Can I say something real quick, Jenny?
Yeah, of course.
I just want to say about this, if I see a lot of you guys say you run support groups, please share this, what we're going to do on Valentine's Day with your support groups. Because as I'm sure all of you know, one of the biggest issues with women living with HIV is we're always afraid that no one's going to love us after diagnosis. And some of us are still afraid that you know, it's harder for us. It's a little bit more difficult for us to get into relationships, I will admit, but it's not impossible. And the most important thing, as Jenny just said, loving yourself. I've been single for a while, but I'm able to be single by choice because I love myself, right? I've had a whole bunch of bums try to wife me up or boo me up or whatever, but because I love myself so much, I know I'm worth more than that, and I just won't deal with any old bum. So get your ladies to join this webinar, because we all on this call know that this is a very important topic, and we want to make sure that this is how we connect. This is how we help each other. So get your people and make sure they're on this webinar on February 14th. And even if they're not, you know, you can show it later yourself. But if you can get them on, because it's going to be Valentine's Day, as y'all know, and people get really depressed. And I don't want anybody to be depressed, because there's no reason to be, because we can love ourselves and we love them and we love you. So get on the webinar.
Yes. and in discussion, Ebony brought that up because I believe something I said. I was like, I hate Valentine's Day. I kind of know a horrible relationship of Valentine's Day, you know. And she was like, well, you're supposed to love yourself, and I do. Like, I do. I love myself enough to know what I'm not going to deal with, in spite of being a trans woman living with HIV. Like, that has nothing to do with anything when it comes to my sanity. That's why mental health and wellness is so important in the series, because we don't want our members to feel as though, we don't want our community to feel as though we have to settle for anything, right? And we know that you're not probably at a point where you want to advocate or you want to lead protests or anything, but still at the heart of everything, think of yourself as that powerhouse, that dynamic that you are. I never thought 5 years ago that I would be doing this. I had absolutely nothing to say, you know, like I didn't think I did anyway. But that's just a little bit about my story and like where I chose to go within PWN, because it really did inspire me to see like-minded individuals living with HIV who went above and beyond their circumstance and are doing like powerful things. And this right here is very powerful. I've seen in the chat so many people saying that they have support groups. Well, Jenny, I can't remember the slide deck right now, but I started all that to say, what's next for those who actually want the resource?
This is what's
next. There it is.
So I'm going to go through the next steps with you all quickly, and then we will have a few minutes for questions and answers. So looking forward to being able to answer any questions you all have. So next steps, there will be a very brief questionnaire. Again, not trying to give folks paperwork or anything that's going to take you a long time. It should take less than 5 minutes to fill this out. It's online. There will be a very brief questionnaire coming your way, probably tomorrow. To the email that you registered for this webinar with, and that will give us sort of some baseline info that will help us to meet your needs and also to let us know sort of how you want to engage with us. Then you'll receive updates, resources, and ideas, and you will, hold on, I can't see, you'll be asked to let us know about whatever group discussions or events you're planning and how we can support you in that. Then we're going to ask you to, after whatever those meetings or events are, we'll ask you to send us some very brief feedback. Again, super short. I'm going to aim for everything to take you less than 5 minutes to do. And contact info for any women who are interested in connecting more with other women living with HIV through PWN. And we will connect them and we'll invite them to virtual events, online events that are tailored for women new to PWN. Other things that we have sort of in the works that we're planning, we're going to have a Sister Circle Facebook group. So this is going to actually be for women living with HIV only. So if you are a woman living with HIV, obviously you're invited to participate. If you're not, but you work with women living with HIV, you can work with us to help make sure that they get put into that group if they're interested in being in it. It'll be a secret group where they can have online conversations and discussions, share resources, and seek and give support without any kind of concern about public disclosure. There will be opportunities, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, to share any resources that you have or that you have found that you think are great with the Sister Circle network of providers and support group facilitators, and opportunities also, like I mentioned, to share lessons learned, best practices, etc., and to collaborate with this network via an email list and optional virtual meetings. So that's sort of, the big picture, things that are coming up over the next couple of months. And now I'm going to open up the floor to questions. Going to take questions now. We have about 10 minutes left, so happy to answer any questions you all have. If you have questions later, by all means, please reach out. I've got my email up here for questions that are kind of more specifically around PWN Cares or Sister Circle. And then Ebony, if you have questions that are more about membership engagement, chapters, state leads, connecting folks, Ebony would be the best person to contact for that. So questions, and again, ideal would be the Q&A box, but let's see, I have a question here. Okay, so I see someone who is interested in connecting with the New York chapter. Ebony, if you see the...
I've already connected her.
Okay, great. You're ahead of the game. Thank you.
Yes, I just wanted to say while waiting on other questions, because I see a lot of what the conversation I see going on in the chat box. One is about mental health being very important. All these topics are really important for the people in your communities. And I want to say first, we know that a lot of our communities don't have support groups. So if you are interested or ever been interested in starting a support group, this could be a good way for you to sell your idea to an agency or to a place to get them to help you sponsor, to sponsor a support group that you can lead. When I was in Chicago, I led a support group there, and the way I sold my support group, I said, we need this is the topics, these are what you can use these vignettes to say, these are some of the things we'll talk about. And I'm sure conversations will come up that off of these conversations that we can talk about at further groups. But you can use these to sell a support group to an agency to allow them to support you. Some agencies, health departments, things like that, somewhere in your city, if you don't have a support group, they have some funds to support you. You just have to sell it to them in a way that where they can see it's going to be productive and beneficial to their clients and to the community. So that's one thing. Two, you can also use these videos to educate providers, educate clinic staff, things like that, if that's something you want to do, because these are women live with HIV telling their personal stories. So they are great for support groups, and we want you to use them for support groups. But I also want you guys to think outside the box and use them for what you need them for, because they're a resource for women live with HIV to use them. All we need you to do, and we would love for you to do, is make sure you tell us how you're using them so we can know how the impact that they're having on the community. And lastly, if you are in a rural place, if you are in a place where they don't have many resources, please use these. I've had people use them in their house before. They just pull up their computer screen or some kind of way they hook it to their TV, and they invite people over and they play it, and then they start a conversation. We've used them on awareness days, Women and Girls Days coming up. Valentine's Day is when we're going to use ours, but you can use them on awareness days to have a community meeting and then have a conversation. It is a great way to start a conversation with many groups of people. So I hope you guys are interested, and please reach out to Jenny and let her know if you're going to use them. And send back those, I don't want to call them surveys.
I'm calling it a questionnaire. It's a very short one.
Okay. Send back the questionnaires so we can know how you use them. And if any of your ladies want to be connected with other women in their area and they don't know other women in their area, or you don't know other women in your area, please reach out to me and I'll help you make that connection. I see Shell just said something about Chicago. Yeah, I'm from Chicago. I used to run support groups there. I know it's not a lot happening right now, but I'm hoping that somebody starts a new one. Any other questions? Oh, shoot, we got 7. I'm just talking.
Several questions, okay.
Okay, so there's, Ebony, there's a few in here that are folks looking for connections, so I'm gonna let you do that privately.
Yeah.
And then I see there's a couple of folks who have questions about if there are support groups in different places. So PWN does not actually run support groups ourselves. This is sort of resources for support groups, but that being said, I feel quite certain that there are folks who, whether they're on here today or maybe just registered but weren't able to attend today, because we had about almost 170 people who registered for this. So I feel quite certain that there's probably somebody in that list who might know of support groups in some of the places that you're asking about. I see Atlanta and Miami among them. And so that's one of the purposes of the network that we're trying to build, is also for folks to be able to identify resources besides just the ones that PWN offers. So, you know, I don't know the answers right now. I feel that there are, I think there are support groups in Atlanta. Ebony can probably connect that person, perhaps. Miami, I believe so. I live in Miami. I should know, but I can check it out. I will try to find out. I see a question about, will you have access to slides? Yes. So I will be sending out the slide deck and a recording of this webinar to everybody who registered. And it will also be available on our website. So yes, that'll be coming probably tomorrow. Let's see. What are the other questions on here?
Do you have speakers from PWN Cares that will come out and tell their story? I don't know.
I think that, yeah.
What I can say is we may not have speakers from the actual video, and we may if they live in your state. If they live in your state, but if they don't live in your state, we might have PWN members that can come out and speak if you want. And I can, I'm the one that will connect you to them. So you guys, my email is there. I see a lot of questions about connection. I'm trying to answer them in the box, but please email me and I will make these connections for you, or I will introduce you. Stephanie, I see you don't know Alicia. Alicia's actually on this call, so I will make I will make a connection with you and Alicia via email, and hopefully I'll be in North Carolina next month, so hopefully I get to meet you, Stephanie. If you yeah, so just email me, guys, if you need. Alicia just said hi to you on Stephanie just said hi to you on the chat. So we'll connect. I'll connect you via email with her if that's what you guys need to do. Awesome.
I love seeing all these connections.
I'm so happy.
Hopefully there will be many more to come. That's really awesome. And yeah, and so again, the thing I'm going to stress is when I send out the questionnaire, which will probably be tomorrow, will definitely be within the next couple of days. Please take the, whatever 3 to 5 minutes that it'll take you to fill that out. That will give us information to kind of understand what you need and to help you with that, to support you with it. So, and also to help make some of these connections for you and to get you into a network where you can connect with each other more easily. Cool. Any other
lastly, I have one last thing. Yes. So we're gonna start the Facebook, the private Facebook PWN Cares Sister Circle on I guess before or after. I know it'll be on February 14th. It'll be
before that, yeah.
So what I would love for people to do is, because we have to promote this self-love thing, this love thing, if you are having whatever good, if you take yourself out on a date for Valentine's Day, post it in the group to encourage the women. If you on a date with your boo, post it in the group, encourage the women. If you just chilling, but you chilling and loving yourself, post it in the group to encourage the women. Because that's what we have to do. Because people I remember when I was first diagnosed, I was like, ain't nobody gonna love me no more ever again. But that's not true. They all want me because I'm fresh.
Okay, back then they didn't want me. Now I'm hot. They all on me. They all on me. You all are so very welcome. So glad that you all came in. Again, this is why we do the work. This is why we do the work. Like we have new people on the call that have actually connected with people in their states. Like, this is beautiful. It's beautiful. This is why we do this work, and I couldn't be more happy. I'm so excited for the rest of my day, y'all. Thank you so much. For real.
Thank you. I just want to address a couple more things before we end that I saw. Someone had a question about what video would be best for Women and Girls Day. Honestly, I kind of think that depends on the audience that you're hoping to reach, which you're going to know better than we are. But all 8 of the videos are really they're made by and for women living with HIV. So I recommend checking out the page, just kind of browsing through them, watching them, see what sort of resonates most with you, what you think that the women that you're working with, or I think someone that mentioned it was a mixed community event, you know, what might resonate the most with that group. I think any of them could work. It just kind of depends on what your goal is for that event. And then I see a question from a former Ryan White program director in Las Vegas, hosting a discussion about HIV in the Black community for Black women, focused on Black women for National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day.
Please
Evan,
contact me.
Huh?
I want her to contact me, whoever that is. I got some ideas for you.
Okay.
And an idea about what video you can show.
Okay, so Alyssa, I would contact Ebony. Her email is up here on the screen, ebony@pwnusa.org. She has ideas for you. Ebony always has a lot of ideas. I highly recommend.
Okay. Highly recommend you talk to Ebony.
Ebony is a fountain of ideas.
Okay.
Cool. Any other questions? And I will be, like I said, be expecting an email either tomorrow or the next day that will have the slides, the recording, and the very short questionnaire that will help us get started and start moving this project forward. So really happy everyone was able to make it, and definitely looking forward to being in touch with you all very, very soon, and excited to be able to support the awesome work that I know you all are doing.
Work. Yeah, although my email address is not there, when you do get the slide deck, remember TIOMMI@pwn-usa.org. Also in the training and communications department for any questions you may have. So
yep. Your email actually is on Tiami, your email is on the slide with all of our pictures. So your email is there as well.
Okay, cool. All right.
Cool.
Anything else?
Anything else? All right, cool. Well, thank you all for being here, and we'll be in touch with you soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. We did it. Thank you.